I'm going to tell you what it means because I feel like that. No. God used humans to write. The Bible is a divine and human book. You cannot ignore either or in the same way you can't ignore the either or of Jesus being fully divine, fully human. Whose interpretation of Scripture is correct? Is it simply through deductive reasoning? It is not simply through deductive reasoning. Most passages in the Bible just are very simple to understand. They don't have 4 or 5 different interpretations to them. When you read narrative, when you read some of this stuff, it is what it says it is. It's just giving you a historical account of something. You don't need to go and do backflips and study crazy stuff. It's just that's the text. Understand it for what it is. Move on. You're going to have multiple interpretations on the passage. Obviously, there's disagreement. The Bible is teaching something or saying something, prophecies, these sorts of things. The way you're going to try to understand whose is right is by going through and doing proper hermeneutics. If you're not familiar with doing hermeneutics, then you need to learn how to do hermeneutics. Hermeneutics is the art and science of biblical interpretation. Learn how to do hermeneutics, understand biblical genres, understand what the process of interpretation is, how to observe text, how to ask internal questions, external questions. And when you do that, you realize that you're left with, maximum of 4 interpretations given a number of external factors. And so you might say, look, these are all possibilities. I believe one of these is actually the case because I think here's the reason internally from the text. It leads me to this conclusion. And so I'm going to go with that. There aren't an infinite amount of choices. There aren't, it's up to the reader and the reader's going to read it. The way it's going to look is for you to look through, ask the genre question, ask the very basic questions about literature, who, what, where, and how, and why. 5 questions you've learned. Any literature you read, you got to answer that 5 questions. Who, what, where, how, and why. You answer those questions, and you're going to probably come across with a pretty decent interpretation of the passage. And if there's people who disagree with you, I'd say consult commentaries, see what their arguments are. Again, your options aren't going to be like an infinite amount. They're not going to be anything more than 5, if that. You have to do work. You don't just sit there and this pastor says this and that pastor says that and you go, I don't know who's right. Go look at the text. Study the text for it yourself. Both could be wrong. When I come to the text, I want to know what John was saying to the churches he was writing to. Now, I can interchangeably say what John was saying and what God was saying to that church. So we develop what we would call a biblical theology of understanding the text in its original context to its original audience. Obviously, there's a human component. If we don't understand the human component, I don't think we're going to understand the God component. First thing we do is understand the human component. Once you understand the human component, then you want to do this, some of these other stuff, where it's like, is this passage cross-reference? Like, why is Psalm 110 quoted so much in the book of Hebrews? Let's go look at it. Obviously, it's important. Why does Jesus quote Psalm 22? My God, why have you forsaken me? Let's go look at Psalm 22. So that would be, I would say, a second layer of interpretation. In that case, I would say we're doing biblical theology first stage. Maybe the second stage, what we would be doing is systematic theology. This is nothing new.